Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Really excited to get the win last week. Back-to-back shutouts for the first time since 1962. It was a great defensive performance. We got a lot of work to do, a lot of room for improvement. And now we get to go and play one of the greatest rivalries in all the Big Ten and all of college football. It should be really exciting. I don't think there's anything more to say about that with how excited we are. I'm sure Iowa feels the same way. It's an honor to be able to be a part of that tradition, and that's what the Big Ten's all about. And I'm glad we've all kept all those rivalries because this is what college football is all about. It's amazing because you get to see Oregon and Oregon State already happened. The Apple Cup already happened. Here we are playing for the Floyd of Rosedale in Week 4. Really exciting. But when you have those things that are kept, it's pretty cool that they've been able to do that with college football with all the changes, being able to keep all this the same. So with that, we'll open it for questions.
PJ, what did you think last year's Floyd of Rosedale game did for the rivalry going forward?
Well, I think like anything, when you're looking at rivalries, I mean, remember we first got here, we hadn't beat Wisconsin, I think, for 14 straight years. I mean, that's a long time not to beat somebody. And you're calling it a rivalry and you're looking at it and, people have such a desire and passion to bring that rivalry back. And then we were able to do it, which was great. It was great for our fan base. We were not only able to do it, but do it back to back and then lose it and then get it back. And, hopefully rivalries are meant to go back and forth. I'm not sitting there saying I want to lose anything, and nor do they want to lose anything. But I think that's what makes rivalries really special. You even watch Washington State. Just look how excited the Washington State Cougars were after that win. And that's what college football is all about. But I think rivalries are rivalries because they do go back and forth. They're usually border wars, border battles. They're really close. Everybody knows each other. You're recruiting a lot of the same kids. And that's where all the the rivalries started, and I'm just honored to be a part of it, and you'd like to be able to have a little bit more balance, as you go forward, and that's what we're working and striving to do all the time here at Minnesota. We're fortunate to have a lot of rivalries, and with some really really good football teams, and when you protect those rivalries, those are huge games, big games against really 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 good opponents.
Maybe an added wrinkle this year to it with everything that went on with the involuntary catch signal last year?
No, not at all. We were 1-0 last year. That was it. And you know me, I don't carry things over from one year to the next. That game was its own entity. That game had its own 60 minutes for both teams to go a chance to win the football game, and we were able to bring Floyd home. And now we both are 0-0 in this game, and both teams are looking to be 1-0. Somehow, some way.
From what you've seen on tape so far, what are the biggest differences with Tim Lester now calling the plays for the offense, and why has their running game been so good through the first 3 games of the season?
That's a great question. I think when you look at them, they're still Iowa. I mean, it's Iowa, and you look at everything that they lean on, and when anything's kind of getting off the tracks, they go right back to what they do and really do well, and that's run the football. I think when you look at Caleb Johnson and what he's been able to do. I think he's one of probably the most underrated backs in all the country. You look at 3 straight 100-yard games. It's what they do. They have a very veteran offensive line. Of course, you got Cade McNamara at quarterback. You got really good tight ends. And, I think the first half, I think they threw it an awful lot, probably more than they probably have in a long time when you're looking at the first game of the year. But I think as you looked at the more data as you go through the next few games, when they get back on track is when they're running the football and they're running that stretch play, they're running the outside zone, because that offensive line, you talk about not only experience, but the way they pass things off and the way they communicate and the way they fire off that football. This is probably one of their best offensive lines we've played. So, again, just this game's always won in the trenches, in my opinion, always, since we've been here. We've had a lot of close, tight games with them, one-possession games. But this is a really good football team. But I think when it all is said and done, it's, Kirk Ferentz is still the head football coach of this football team. And you can see his DNA and fingerprint all over it, even as they made changes to staff members. But you see what they still want to do.
You see any difference in their defense this year?
What they traditionally do? No, they do what they do. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just say it's a compliment. They do what they do. Are there new wrinkles here and there? Of course, there's new wrinkles, as you continue to evolve, but very similar to what they've always done. They put the ball down and play great defense. They're very sound. They get off their blocks. They can two-gap you. Every single one of them do such a great job. The D-line with the strike and shed. You can't even – a lot of guys can't even – they're so long and big that it's hard to even get into them on some of the blocks. And they do a great job getting off blocks. D-line does a really good job making plays in the backfield. Tackles for loss. Linebackers are really good tacklers. The Castro kid's one of the best, I think, players in the country, period. I think he can play anything. And they've got a really good deep secondary who's experienced. So, again, it sounds like a broken record every single year when I talk about this football team because they're always experienced. They're always deep. They always have good trenches. They're very sound in the secondary. On offense, they're running the football. I mean, it feels like Caleb's been there forever, the running back. So, typical Iowa.
Not even bring up last year's game, which ended with 22 points. They've only allowed two defensive touchdowns, like on the defensive side. You've only allowed one. Just what goes into playing this type of game where it's obviously every possession matters, every yard matters?
Yeah, I think it's like anything. It's going to come down to the ball. It's going to come down to into the trenches. It's going to come down to who tackles better and who can break some tackles, and then who can create some explosive plays here and there. And that, as I talk about 78%, I mean, those are the three things we always focus on no matter who we play. I think when you play in rivalry games, those just get enhanced. Those become even more important. So I think that's what you're going to see on Saturday night.
If your offensive line is going to have their best performance of the season, what has to happen on Saturday?
They just have to be consistent. They have to be consistent. They have to do a great job communicating. And they just got to play hard-nosed football. And they do. It's not like they don't. They do. They played extremely hard. But, again, as we continue to go through this and mold it together, we just got to continue to have the consistency that we know the guys can have.
How do you assess them in the first half? Obviously, Darius hits the home run in the third quarter, but first half run game.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever as bad as you think or as good as you think. And you go back in it and you sit there and go, why aren't we, there's 9 guys down in the box. Not only that, if you listen to Coach Jeff's presser afterwards, I mean, his whole thing was stop the run, and they came from everywhere. Their thing was never be in the same place twice, and it was all over the place. I mean, some sound, some not sound. We're talking about people in lots of different gaps and moving and never letting us have a block head on. It was always on the side. They were slippery. They did a really good job of a scheme to be able to stop the run. But we knew if we just, like I said in our press conference at the end of the game, it was more body blows and consistency. I think people in the run game, sometimes think every time you run the ball, you should get 12 yards. Not in today's day and age. Not all the time. Not like that. I mean, you're going to have body blows, and then you saw what Darius can do. And that's what Iowa's always done too. They're consistent, and there's a lot of body blows, and then explosive plays come out. So it's being willing to stick with the run game over and over and over, and that allows a lot of things to happen in the pass game. Which when we throw it, we got to be able to catch it and get us in the right plays. And I think Max has done a really good job of being consistent.
Film of Caleb Johnson, what stands out to you?
Oh man, he's smooth. There's a lot of times he doesn't look like he's moving very fast, but he's running away from everybody. He runs behind his pads really well. He can play the speed game. He can play the power game. He's got great balance, great vision. And he's played so much. And their backs are so fundamentally and technically sound. And that's what makes them all really good is they're a fundamental football team who does all the small details really well over and over and over and over. His footwork is always perfect, The exchanges are always really good. His landmarks are on point. His patience in the run game of being able to stretch something out and hold that block a little longer and get somebody to fit differently, and the ability to stick your foot in the ground and get vertical he's got it all, man. He really does, and he's got the speed to go along with it.
Do you have any update on Justin Wally? Any chance he's going to be able to play this week?
Well, he felt good yesterday, which was really a good sign. But you know me, 2 hours before game day, before kickoff, I should say. Thanks for asking, though.
You guys have 7 interceptions. I think that's number 2 in the country. You said you've done the same kind of turnover circuit, but what do you kind of put your finger on to being able to turn on over like that?
Well, that was the whole offseason talk is, we have to be able to create takeaways. If the ball, tackling, explosive plays, those 3 things are directly correlated to winning, and that's what we believe here. And, you have to get more takeaways than we did last year. I mean, we weren't able to take the ball away very much, and we were turning the ball over, and that's not a good recipe to win football games. But I think part of it's been our defensive line has disrupted the quarterback a lot. I think we get 2 picks last week just because he's getting hit as he throws it. which, again, our eyes are back on the quarterback a little bit more than they've ever been. Our guys are, in really good spots. We're getting some good pressure with the even just the front four. And when we do blitz, we're getting there a little bit faster than we have. Now, our blitz angles, the small details of all those things have to get better. Or as we continue to play really good opponents, that's going to be exposed pretty quick. So we got to get better at a lot of those things. But I think it has to do with just all 11 guys playing so hard, Andy, and just really getting after it, and really focusing on that's our job. That's the key to success in 2024. And they've taken it very seriously, and hopefully that continues.
How important is the atmosphere at these games? Obviously, 2 years ago, kind of packed stadium here, and then you see the packed stadium at Kinnick last year, and expecting a big turnout this week. Just how important is that?
It's all about the fan experience, right? College football, from all the commercials, all the Dr. Pepper commercials and everything. It's all about the collegiate fan experience, right? And there's nothing better than Huntington Bank when you have a rivalry game, and especially a night game. These are very passionate fan bases, and they're very passionate about this game. Our student body's very passionate about Minnesota, and theirs is very passionate about Iowa, and I wouldn't expect anything less than the most elite atmosphere in college football. It's gonna be a blast. It really will be, and you just hear it as you kind of walk. It's only Monday, but you can hear it as you're around the building. You get off campus, you can feel it and hear it that everybody's excited about this one, and everybody should be. It's one of the greatest rivalries in all the Big Ten.
Do you have any special rituals you do during Iowa week? Do you eat any extra bacon or anything like that, or what do you do for that's different this week?
Just prepare. Yeah. I do like bacon, extra crispy though. I don't like anything that's soggy about the bacon, but extra crispy bacon. But we'll have some certain things that we do kind of traditionally inside the program, but we got a football game to win. I tell people that all the time, and when you look back to, high school and you had homecoming and prom, those were huge games. And usually you put your rivals on those two games, or at least homecoming, right? And so, I wasn't responsible for decorating the gym or, picking the music or, decorating the gym with anything. Our responsibility is to go out and play a really good game and go win the game. And I think our coach has been preparing for a long time. Yesterday we moved our schedule up so we'd have extra time on Sunday, and we normally do that as we start getting to conference play. But I think we've had a great start with our preparation, and we'll continue to do that.
PG, you talk about data points, and you have 3 games now. Are there any data points that are kind of clusters, either positive or negative, or things you want to look at as you have more information on the 3 games?
Andy, I think that one, we continue to focus on the 78% piece, the ball tackling, explosive plays, because I think you have to be able to control what you can control. When you look at a lot of data points that are outside that are little stretches, right? They can skew a lot of the things you do internally, because we're a program that believes in, you get what you emphasize, but you can only emphasize so much. And if you're emphasizing the ball, that's a good one to do. Tackling, that's the name of the game, blocking and tackling. And you got to be able to create explosive plays. And we've changed what we look at explosive plays based on data in the offseason and new data, and rearranged it to fit more of what we're doing and what college football's changed and turned into. So I think that's what we're looking at, Andy. I don't think there's any statistic that's out there. The one-possession games and the narrow games are really, really critical. We showed our team on Sunday when they came in, we showed them 4 games that all came down to the last possession, this past week. And I could have showed them, 18 games. We showed them 4 just for how most games are lost, not won, and most games that are won are lost less. They're not really won, and that we have to find a way to be a team that always finds a way to win games and not lose it less, go out and win games. And you win games by winning 78%, the ball tackling, explosive play. So that's what we keep focusing on.
Heard it a few times. What have you guys changed about how you define explosives?
We can get into that at some other point. It's a little bit different in terms of run pass. The numbers have changed because what's an explosive run, what's an explosive pass, and why? And then defensively, what does that look like? I won't get into it right now. You can ask me at another time. But it used to be, hey, just everything was anything 22 yards or more. 22 yards or more, depending on runner pass. But that wasn't necessarily just the only correlation to that becoming a touchdown and a scoring drive. And we wanted to be able to maximize the amount of scoring drives because you have a 14-yard play. That's a big play. Like, that's a huge play that can turn the game around, right? Just a 14-yard play. And when you go back and do all the studies, we changed a lot of our numbers to make sure it wasn't like, hey, we need to throw the ball 50 yards down the field right here just to have an explosive play, or we need to be untouched for 30 yards to have an explosive play. That's not how we're built. And so we needed to be able to look at a lot of the data, explosive plays on offense, defense, and special teams, kind of rearrange a little bit what we do so we can have more accurate data based on what we do and how we do it.
One or two more for Coach.
You talked about post-game having great players and great people outside of the field. Just last week we saw it happen to Tua in terms of the head injury.
Yeah.
How do you go about educating your players on the risks that are associated with the game, while also getting them to perform at their highest, but then they have the whole life ahead of them afterwards as well?
Well, I think that's what's great about a life program. Is football is a piece of their life. Listen, we'll all move on from this. There'll be a new head coach at some point. There'll be a new system. Nobody's ever bigger than the program, ever. And so this is a piece of their life. My job as a head coach is to make sure every experience they have inside this program, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, right, that they love their alma mater. They respect their alma mater. They love how they're cared for, mentally, physically, and emotionally, in all four areas of their life. That is the job of the head football coach. I'm judged on winning football games. That is a fact. But my job, I look at it very differently. I look at it as what I just described to you. So every single one of these people are treated like our own sons. I've got a son that's playing football right now, and he's had 2 games. He's been hurt twice. You look at it as people. These are human beings. They're going to have incredible careers. We have an unbelievable medical staff who makes the decisions for us, an incredible training staff who our players trust. That takes this out of it for the head coach. But you can also sit there and educate them of what the rest of their life's going to look like. They've got to make decisions and choices too, because it's not just the medical team and trainers. The players are involved in that too. And I think that's what's great about what we do is our players have a huge voice in how they feel. And we want them to be able to do that. It's a tough game. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough game. There's a lot of players who play hurt, but there's a difference between being hurt and being injured, and risking the rest of your life. I think there's a big difference in those types of things. And I think we have a great educational program inside our walls that do that. I talk to them about that. Our coaches talk to them about that. But it's more about the experience they have within the walls and the trust that hopefully they have with everything that we do. But these are people. Again, we get judged on the wins, guys, but the whole program's designed on making sure they have the great life they want to have. And children one day, spouse one day, grandkids one day, do everything they want to do. And if we just take that and, hey, it's the only thing that matters are these 4 years of football, I mean, that's insane. And that's not how we've ever run a program, nor will we ever run a program. So, and I think that's why we've had success, if that's what you want to call success, because everybody defines it differently. But it's a pretty big topic. But we have incredible people in here that all care about the student athlete, but the person first. Person, then the student athlete. It's pretty cool.
Final question for Coach, or is everyone all set?
Usually we've seen a slight uptick in the number of punt returns through the first couple of games. Is that Bob? Is that just where the kicks are coming, the returner? How do you break that down?
Maybe it's a combination, but I think it's a little bit by chance that we're catching it a little bit more. We've had more guys punt the football in the first 3 games, maybe. I think that's probably more. There's, we've shut 2 people out back to back, and so they're punting a lot, getting more punt returns. We've done a really good job on where they're going to punt it and putting our returner where we think they're going to, put the ball. The hang times haven't been exactly, the highest, so we've been able to hold up. Have some really good schemes on the defensive side. Well, becomes the punt return side. Has some really good schemes Bob's come up with that have allowed our guys to be able to catch and go. And I think as we go forward, I think Coy's not the only one we could put back there, but I think he's done a really good job. I told him before he's just a football player, and you want to do everything you can, even though he's a defensive player, to find a way to put the ball in his hands. Even being here since June, I think he's earned that opportunity. He's got to keep getting better, and he knows it. But I think everybody would agree with me, even in this room, and our fans in the stadium and our team, our players. Every time he touches the football, you're kind of like, what's he going to do next? That's kind of how he lives his life. Just like, what's he going to do next? What amazing thing will this kid accomplish next? And that's how he's done his entire career. So you put your faith and trust in players like that and people like that, and good things happen. Not perfect, but good things happen.
With that said, you have to do a refresher course and proper hand signals on punt returns.
We educate them on what is the right fair catch signals and what the points mean and what the getaway signals mean and all those valid and invalid fair catch signals. We educate them on all that. Yes, we do. All right, thank you. You got row the boat, Sky Imago Gophers.